So, what we use to try and clarify this big picture. So, part of, I think, one of the advantages that we have in our work is as workforce experts, we can see this from a historical perspective and we can always look at things from a psychological perspective. And that's
Right.
part of what gives us a little bit different view on things. So, we look at this whole thing through the context of what we call the fragile grip principle. Now, what is a fragile grip principle? Well, it's the acknowledgement that that there's a fragile relationship that is between employees and employers, and that relationship, how it's handled by employers, greatly impacts the future success of the business. So there are three types of grips that the business uses to hold on to the fragile bond between itself and its employees. Now, the first one is the harsh grip. This is where they grip too tight. They crush the fragile bond like a raw egg in their hand and
Mhm.
oozing down the sides, right? They try and squeeze every ounce of productivity or work out of employees and they put a stranglehold on their daily interactions.
And this is stuff like the mistakes that we see in this, like uh, incredibly restrictive non-competes,
Right.
or even probably far, far more common is invasive software on computers to track eye movement to make sure that people are sitting in front of their desks, right? Tapping into their cameras to monitor them when they're working from home. Key logging software that tracks every keystroke, right? These
Mhm.
things are not going to build any type of trust or respect between you and your employees. All it's going to do is showcase that you don't trust people, you don't care about people, and you're not looking out for them. I just
It's
want to
kind of so individual managers may make the mistake in micromanaging. But
right.
but the harsh grip is kind of like when the organization's policies are too micromanage.
Yeah.
It's about crushing that relationship and pressing it to a point that you are mistakenly assuming that this extra attention and effort and control is improving output and
Yeah.
improving productivity when it is definitely not.
I get the logic behind it, because the logic is we need to tighten our belts, right? We need to do more with less, or we need to squeeze every ounce of productivity to make sure that we can remain profitable. But you don't increase productivity by squeezing the life out of somebody,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
don't you don't cut off somebody's oxygen and expect them to run a marathon,
Right.
right?
Yes. Yeah. So, and the whole idea of the harsh grip, you're right. It is that, like we have to do more with less or whatever. But it's in a sense of when things are tough, the more control I have, the more I can guarantee that we're going to, last and
Right.
succeed and ride this through. And what that does is it damages that fragile bond, that fragile relationship.
I
So
want to talk very briefly about that relationship,
yeah.
because we have to understand that it is perfectly normal and natural that employers, businesses are going to do what is best for them.
Hmm.
We also need to acknowledge that it is perfectly normal and natural that employees are going to do what is best for them,
Yes.
right? This is the inherent conflict in the employer employee relationship, right?
Yeah.
You have two opposing sides that have different needs, right? They are each going to act in their own self-interest, because we all do this, right? We
Mm.
all need to prioritize what is best for me and my family over what's best for somebody else's, right? I need to make sure that my family is fed.
Yeah.
But the way that we approach this relation, that's why the relationship is fragile. When we say there's a fragile bond, it's because of the inherent conflict there.
Yes.
And right.
Mm.
But just because it's fragile doesn't mean that it isn't we're not able to sustain it through hard times. It means that it's going to require more intentional effort to maintain that relationship during the hard times than maybe it does when things are going really, really well.
Well, and part of it is actually just acknowledging its fragility
Yeah.
and not letting the fragility almost be its weakness.
Right.
So let's move on. So with that, so the first one we mentioned was the harsh grip where you crush too tight. Now the second mistake that a lot of businesses make is the other end, the weak grip, where they grip it too loose, where they neglect the fragile bond, like dropping that raw egg out of their hand.
Yeah.
And
Like laying people off,
yes,
mass
it's
layoffs.
when they see the hard times, yeah, they abandon
Yeah.
that rapport and the relationships. At the first sign of trouble, their gut reaction is, "Well, these things are getting hard. Everybody out."
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again makes which is more of the common the reaction, and then it's exceedingly frustrating on the workforce side when you see, oh, recession's coming and all these big companies are laying people off and then they're posting record profits and stuff like that. And that type of contradictory information can make can even damage what's an already broken relationship between the employer and employer even worse, right?
But I mean, and that's also that right there, that comment about the inequality in laying people off and posting continuous quarter after quarter after quarter profits.
Yeah.
That, going back to what we talked about earlier, like there's a reason why unionization rates and union activity has become more prominent with large strikes, with big recruitment efforts, with big unionization efforts, especially in industries that have traditionally been very, very hard for people to unionize. Starbucks has just gone gangbusters with the unionization. Like, props to them, the organizers there, because they've done an amazing job. Amazon, which has resisted unionization for a long time, and they've got a firm grip. Like they push the life out of most people. I don't think I'm gonna get any hate mail from Amazon, but if I do, it's all good.
We'll just put on the pile of the rest of your hate mail.
Yeah, well, I'm used to people not liking me. It's okay.
So this brings us to the third grip, which we call the stable grip.
Yeah.
And this is actually when they can grip with balance and support to actually maintain the integrity of the fragile bond, where they provide the required attention and the required care, and they understand the long-term mutual benefit that the relationship between the employee and employer was designed for. And this is when we say about learning your lesson. Is to learn, maybe we need to stop crushing people with the hard grip or letting people drop with the weak grip and actually lean into the stable grip and maintain the integrity of this fragile bond between employees and employers.
And I just want to say that with this stable grip, we're not saying that you can't ever lay somebody off.
Oh yeah, right? Of course not.
Business needs will be paramount. We will have to do what is in the best interest of our businesses. Full stop. But we can do that in a way that is respectful of the individuals who work with us and for us, right? Yeah. And that is one of the cornerstones of this stable grip is transparent communication, right? Simply acknowledging that there are, like, we all know that we're heading into hard times. Being upfront with people about that and saying, and making a commitment that we're going to do everything that we can to minimize the impact gives people a sense of care, that they are actually seen and valued as a person.